have a new book out called Revolutionary Spiritual Healing. It contains 50 years of my knowledge as a healer. And I don't think there's any other book out there that covers what I cover in there on that subject. So I just like your power assist and manifesting that. If we're supposed to keep self-publishing, okay, but then we need to figure out the marketing, which we've never figured out. So we need help figuring out the marketing of self-publishing books, if that's what we're supposed to do. So we just finished that book. Marcus is, shaping it up. So that's the good news. Okay, I want to say a few words about mantra breathing, and then we're going to lie down, and then I'll give a talk while you're lying down breathing for the first half, and then the second half will be the mantra. So it'll be a half-hour talk, maybe, and a half-hour breathing. You're going to be breathing for a whole hour, but I might be talking for 25 minutes or something, and then we'll have the mantra play the last part. Okay, so the good thing about having this kind of a group, more power, you get the energy of everybody, which kind of enhances your intention. And I'm going to sit here and imagine that you each get your intention. So I'm going to be praying over you while you're breathing, okay? So mantra breathing is wonderful because you have the combination of the liberation breathing breath, which is powerful, with the mantra, which is powerful. And it doesn't matter if you don't understand the mantra, because it's all about praises to God. A lot of it is in Sanskrit, because that's the original language. So it's more powerful, and it's all, which is a very, very high frequency. So is you do something that puts you in a high frequency, puts off disease. And Babaji says, if you do this regularly, like once a week, you'll get to the point where your frequency is so high that no negative energy can stick in your body. That's how high the frequency can go if you stick with this as a spiritual practice. And so you can have a healing with mantra breathing, and you can have, basically more happiness. The more I do this, the happier I get. And the music we have is wonderful. But today we're going to stick with one mantra, not many. Usually we play many, but this day we're going to stick with the physical immortality mantra, which will push out your death urge. So that's what we're going to stick on today. Okay, so now I want you to lie down before I start talking about this. I want you to breathe this is what Bob told me to do. I should speak while you're breathing, so you can take it in at a deeper level.
So everybody get ready to breathe now.
And if you're new, you can breathe in and out through your nose, but usually we recommend you start breathing oral breathing because you can get more energy moving. But if you're not used to this kind of thing, you could just do nasal breathing. But I think most of you are pretty experienced here. And you want to take off your glasses so you can relax more. The head should be pretty flat. So you don't want the pillow behind at an angle. You want the pillow to be more flat. That's it, David. Okay. And if I were you, I would start on your back, and then you can turn over on your side later on at the end. Okay, so now that you are all lying down, you can start breathing. It's my pleasure to talk to you today about this subject. And I'm going to start with this question for you all. Do you want to end up in an old folks' home, suffering and waiting to die and not being able to do it? This is how most people end up. So most people get less and less energy every year, more and more sickness. Maybe they get Alzheimer's, they get whatever their family can't take of them, and they end up in an old folks' home. If you don't want to do that, you have to decide now to go for the opposite. You have to start working on this now. It has to be a lifelong spiritual path. You cannot avoid this topic, or you'll just end up like everybody else. And I don't want you guys to end up like that, and you don't want to end up that. I call it the waiting to die syndrome. These people in old folks' homes are just hanging out waiting to die. Now, there's a new syndrome that even is talked about on the internet. It's called tired of life syndrome. People are tired of life, and it's like waiting to die. It's similar because they have nothing to do. They've given up their career. They don't have any more purpose. By the way, most people die 30 months after retirement. That's a statistic. So I'm never going to retire, see? You should be always doing your service work. And Babaji says the formula for happiness is love, truth, simplicity, and service to mankind. So if you want to stay alive, you want to keep doing your work and serving. And Babaji says, work is worship, idleness is death. So he always taught us that right away. And he used to shout that to us so we wouldn't forget. Now, so therefore, if you want to do the opposite of waiting to die syndrome and suffering and old age, you have to work on yourself and you have to handle your unconscious death urge. Now, everybody has one because it's programming. And I'll tell you what that consists of. Okay, so the first death urge is the belief that you're separate from God. And most people in the body, they separated from God, and then they're guilty about that, and guilt demands punishment. And the way you punish yourself is to die because you're such a sinner. And besides, maybe the church told you were born a sinner. And if you weren't a Catholic in this life, you might have been in the last few lifetimes, so it's still stuck. The second thing that is part of the death urge is the belief death is inevitable. Everybody thinks that. They don't get that it's a thought. They think it's true. And you see, a belief is just a thought you keep thinking over and over and over. And almost everyone in the world thinks death is inevitable and you can't escape it. They don't get that thought is creative, thoughts produce results in the body, and that thought will kill you. The third part of your death urge is your personal lie, which is your most negative consciousness factor, your worst thought of self. You have to be absolutely clear what it is. You can't have the wrong one or you don't get healed. So if you don't know what yours is, you need a private session because we're very good about getting that. We wrote a whole book called Liberation, which is all about personal lies. And I had about 350 that I kept track of. No other rebirther has ever kept track of all their personal lives of their clients. Now we published that book. Now I came up with new ones recently. We have to add. Okay, so 1, 2, 3 is I'm separate from God. That's part of your death urge. Death is inevitable, and your personal lie. Those things alone can kill you. Most people never, ever clear those things. That's what we're doing in breathwork. The next part of your death urge is the family tradition you had. What did your ancestors die of, and what conditions? Keep breathing now. Don't hold your breath. So maybe the first thing you saw, the first funeral you saw was your grandfather. And what age did they die? Or your grandmother, what age did they die and of what condition? And at some point you need to look at all the family habits on sickness and make sure you're not a conformist and copying them. Okay, the next thing is past life memories of dying. Now that's what I've been going through recently. I've had some sudden, spontaneous rebirths, and they've been really intense because we had a death in the family recently, a couple of months ago. And that's why we shaved our heads in India, because when someone dies, your death urge gets activated. Even if a pet dies, your death urge gets activated. So we got shaved our heads. Well, anyway, the last 2 days, I had past life memories of dying come up when I was getting nails done in a nail salon. And I started going into a spontaneous rebirth in the middle of my nail treatment. It was so intense. I had to pray like crazy to get through that session. Well, then I came home and I started rebirthing myself. And I really learned something, which I'll share in a minute. I don't want to confuse you, so I'm going to go back to these causes of unconscious death urge. The next one is all your anti thoughts. That's part of your death urge. And then your secret wish to die if you hate your life. See, a lot of people secretly hate their life because it's not working. Or they're in too much pain. Well, the reason they're in pain is they haven't cleared their death urge. So people say, well, I wouldn't want to live a long time. It's too painful. Of course you wouldn't want to live a long time if it's painful, or if you're old and decrepit. So the concept of physical immortality is beyond that. It's not being old and decrepit. It's living as long as you want while improving your body. That's the opposite of what I started your question with. Living as long as you want while improving your body. And that is the potential for physical immortality. That's the definition. Okay? Now, the reason people say, well, I just want to check out because I'm not happy. They're not happy because they never cleared their death urge. They're in pain because they never cleared their death urge. And death is the stronghold of all fear. Most people have tremendous suppressed fear. Now, I found out in my session the other day that not only does Babaji told me this in my session, not only do most people have a tremendous fear of death that's suppressed, they're not conscious about it because if they had to feel it, it's too scary. They also have a fear of life. Fear of God is life. So people have a fear of God. So people have a fear of death and they have a fear of life, and that puts them in the middle. And so they're half here. And most people are nowhere near in the level of liveness they could have because they're only half here because they're stuck in the fear of death and they're stuck in the fear of life. And both of those are ruining their life, those two fears. So when you have to process your death urge, you have to breathe a lot because you have to have a way to deal with the fear that comes up. Otherwise, it's just too scary and you won't handle the fear. You'll keep it suppressed. And if you keep it suppressed, you'll get pain and sickness. That's why people get sick, is they're stuffing their fear, stuffing their guilt, and guilt always demands punishment. And the main way people punish themselves is to die. So when you let this stuff up, you have to be strong. You know, I was saying to Babaji, my God, I can't believe how much came up for me. He said, most people do not have the courage that you have to even go through this. And if I didn't know how to rebirth myself, a lot of Marcus comes and helps me. Or I had Monique help me the other day. I was freaking out. She sat with me. And, you know, rebirthers have to get rebirthed. So we all get rebirthed. And the more, the better. So Babaji said most people don't even have the courage to go through this. So we're here to support you guys, to let the fear come up and exhale it. You inhale love, and when the fear comes up, you exhale it. When the anger comes up, you exhale it. When the guilt comes up, you exhale. You inhale love and exhale anger, fear, and guilt. And most people are stuck in anger, fear, and guilt, and eventually that kills them. Well, some people say, well, I'd just rather go to heaven. You know, Marcus's mother said, well, I'm just going to wait till, what was it she used to say? I'm going to
Get my rewards on the other
get
side.
my rewards on the other side. Okay. And they think that all their problems are going to be solved because somebody told them that heaven is just nothing but bliss. So of course, everyone's attracted to death. They think life is hell. I just want to go to heaven and get in bliss. And I just want to stay there and I don't want to come back. Don't clear, and you're going to have to reincarnate and go through the whole thing again. Do you really want to go through another set of parents, another birth trauma, another school system, another divorce, another illness, and go through it all again? No, you want to get enlightened in this lifetime. So you've got to stay on the path. And I always tell people, don't quit rebirthing, but you'd be surprised how many people quit. And then they come to me and they say, oh yeah, I met you 20 years ago and you told me not to quit and I did, and I got this horrible disease. I wish I had listened to you. So don't be stupid and quit what works. What works is breathing it out. Okay, so today I'm going to discuss something from this little book that I've never really taught this before because I lost this book and I read it months ago and I found it recently coming right before I came here. It's called The Door of Everything by Ruby Nelson. And here she explains what really happens when you die. You don't automatically go to a higher place when you die, is what most people think. So here's what she says. When death does come, it does release the weight of gravity and temporarily frees the soul from earth. But it does not change the vibration of consciousness from the human level. Get that? You don't necessarily automatically go to a higher level of consciousness. You go to the same level of consciousness. Maybe you don't have a breath, but you have to go back and get to the higher level of consciousness. There is no escape from the vibration of yourself except by practice change of thoughts and feeling. Now that's what she says, and I think that's the truth. I never heard anybody explain it so well. She said, nor, this is the point I want to make, nor does death cause the released consciousness to go directly to a celestial level. Consciousness, when departing from the body, automatically seeks its own level of vibration. That's the point I want you guys to get today. And I haven't been teaching that enough because I forgot about this book. And I think we all need to know that. Consciousness, when departing from the body, automatically seeks its own level of vibration. Okay, so I think this is really important, and I want you to start breathing a lot on that point. Most people, they come back and then they go through the whole nother lifetime. It's too much work. It's easier just to get your case handled in this lifetime. And I acknowledge all of you for liberation breathing and linking up with Babaji. And, if you're in our vibration, you're in Babaji's lineage. You might as well take advantage of that fact. You should have an altar to Babaji. We have altars in every room of our house. We call it the Dream Team. We have an altar to Babaji, Jesus, and the Divine Mother, and we call that the Dream Team. And I'm always praying and writing letters to the Dream Team, and that's how I get through my case. I'm breathing and writing letters and doing the mantra breathing and personal private rebirthing sessions with other rebirthers. That's my way of my own case, and it works, and when I stop doing that, it doesn't work. So that keeps me in a high vibration. So, Babaji, he actually talked about his, because most people went unconscious when he would do that. They didn't even hear him. So he gave me a name. My name means strong, one, immortal, everlasting. And so I knew I was tuned into this topic. So one night in the temple, he said out loud in Huracan, everybody that wants physical immortality, go down to the river and meditate on this fire all night, stay awake and do this mantra. I don't even remember the mantra right now. But anyway, I was so excited. I grabbed my stuff. I marched down there and nobody came with me. One other person, I think. And the Guru, Muni Raja's mother, who was a saint, was told to go with us and keep us awake. And if we would fall asleep, she would hit us with a stick. So anyway, I was all excited. And the next day I said, what happened to you guys? You didn't come with me. And they didn't even hear him. They did not even hear him say that. That's how closed most people are to this topic. And my experience is people don't even want to know about this topic. It's too threatening to their belief system. I've, written people on the internet who are interested in this topic, and they never contact me. I've told them we have this book, Physical Immortality, How to Overcome Death, that Marcus and I wrote. Sometimes I even send that to people and they don't even read it. So a lot of people just aren't open. And that's what I found out in Huracan. Most people were not even open to the topic. I was really glad that Babaji gave me that miracle that I could do that assignment. I have met other immortals. And why did I meet them? Because I was open to it. If I hadn't been open to it, I would have never gotten in their vibration. I met a 400-year-old female saint in India. And that's a long story, but that is amazing. And then I met another one in Canada, and I met one in San Diego that were really clear on this topic. So I have met 3 or 4 masters that are living this way. So I know it's not only possible for you, it's possible for us. These were ordinary people. They weren't, well, she was a saint, the one was 400, but the other ones I met were ordinary people who were really in high energy fields, extremely high energy fields. And they could perform miracles, by the way. I mean, so when you get to that level that you're in the vibration of being an immortalist, miracles start happening to you. The death urge holds you down, it lowers your frequency, it leads to all kinds of problems in your body, and it leads to unhappiness and misery and suffering. So I hope I've made that point clear. So today, I say to Babaji, please, I give up my death urge as much as I can today to you, and we're going to play this mantra. Now, this mantra is very powerful. I think it's the Dalai Lama chanting it, isn't it?
I think it might be.
We don't know for sure who's chanting, but the thing is, and it's in answer over and over, and it will push out your death urge, so breathe a lot, okay? And the meaning of this mantra is, let not disease or death come to me. That's the mantra we're going to be playing, and I'll be sitting here with you. Marcus is going to breathe, it's his turn. And so you just open your mouth, and if fear comes up, don't worry, you're safe, because the mantra is going to make you feel safe. That's another thing I like about mantra breathing. I used to worry about doing group rebirthing online, but then the solution was Babaji told me play mantras and people will relax and feel safe. So that's another reason we recommend mantra breathing in a group, because it makes you feel safe, even though there's not a rebirther sitting next to you. God is right here with you. Babaji is right here with you. You're totally safe. So if fear comes up, just change your thought and let it go.
The mantra is God. And so the mantra is with you and God is with you. So this is the immortality chant, Om Triambakam. And I think it's on YouTube. So you can probably just Google Om Triambakam on YouTube.
Close your eyes.
Kamiva Banhana